So welcome. You're here with Dr Angus Pike, the president of the Victorian branch of the Chiropractors Association, and talking a little more about our Inspiring Change seminar coming up. In the last 5 years, having been more involved in politics than ever, one of the things that keeps on bouncing up is what role is it that chiropractic is going to play in the future, particularly with regards to the health of our children. And I'm here at the moment with who I believe to be one of the absolute experts when it comes to chiropractic and kids, and that's Dr Genevieve Keating. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Angus.
Now, Jen, I'm going to ask you the ever so simple question: is in your perspective, what role will chiropractors play in the development of our kids?
I think it's really important with our profession working with children that we have a good understanding of what is it that constitutes development in children, how do we know if things are going okay, and what can we do about it. I think being primary care practitioners, it is really vital that we have a sense of how does the brain develop. We call ourselves doctors of the nervous system, and to look at the nervous system, it's not simply about checking for subluxations and adjusting the spine. However, that's an important part of it. There's no doubt about that. But that's one component of a very big area.
So are there ways that we can accurately see how a child's nervous system is developing?
Yeah, when babies are born, the brain's the most underdeveloped organ at birth, and it continues to develop, not just get bigger as the baby develops. And that brain development is based on experience of the world. So at birth, we have something like 100 billion neurons with 50 trillion synapses. And by the first month, those synapses increase 30-fold. And that development occurs based on the experience with the world. The whole sort of nature-nurture argument is now a defunct argument because we know that it's the combination of both that's vital for development of the brain.
Yeah. So where does chiropractic fit into this?
Chiropractic is important from the point of view of all feedback that comes from gravity-based receptors fires through the spinal cord, up through the cerebellum and up to the higher cortex. And so the better functioning the cranial system, the dural system and the spinal system is, the better that feedback can reach the brain. It's based on an afferent model. In the past, I think chiropractors have explained brain, spinal cord out to every single organ and tissue of the body. And I think that's part of the story, but the most important and most exciting part of that story is the afferent part of that.
So
and
is that a bit like that computer term that we often hear, kind of garbage in, garbage out? Is that the kind of model that we're talking about?
Yeah, we could absolutely think of that. And so the better that those pathways function to receive that afferent input to the cerebellum and to the cortex, the better it is that allows the brain to develop. It's that firing of that cortex that allows that cortex to wire and develop, and that's directly dependent on environmental experience.
So where could the chiropractic profession step into? What is not only unique of us in terms of the skills that we have, but the philosophy that we have? Where could we step into in the next 10, 15 years?
I think we could step up a little in terms of our skills, in terms of monitoring what's happening with that brain development. Because if we think of a baby, the way the baby functions is really directly as a result of the brainstem. All the heart and respiratory regulation and all the primitive reflexes come from that area. And the basic motor programs, the unconscious motor programs in a newborn baby come from that area. And it's as higher centres develop that they inhibit those primitive reflexes and allow for postural support and for conscious motor development. And all the research is indicating that motor development is directly linked to cognitive development. So as chiropractors, if firstly we can assess...
Let me go back to that and see if I'm understanding what you said there, because
Sure.
So you're saying that movement development, which is what we have such a tremendous impact on as chiropractors, plays a pivotal role in cognitive development, which is development of the brain and thought and processes like that, yeah?
Absolutely.
So
and
that's big.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's really exciting from our perspective in our profession because it means that we have a really pivotal role to play in brain development and function.
So it's not too far-reaching to say that with some upskilling, that we can really hold on to that platform of being, experts in, nerve system development of our kids. Is that where you see it?
Absolutely. You've got it in one there, Angus. That's absolutely what I'm talking about. And that has far-reaching effects, not only if you think of children at school, not only in their academic development and their academic function, but also in social and emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Part of cognitive and frontal lobe development is to regulate emotions and have appropriate responses to the environment.
Yeah.
And kids function better at school if they can fit and belong to a group, and they can start to create, play relationships and friendships with other children and with adults, and interact with their environment in a much more balanced way.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
And I know from listening to you before, one of the things, as a parent myself, is that not only do I want my kids doing well at school academically, but I want them doing well at school socially. I want them to be able to make friends, to communicate, to experience that side of things as well. So I know at the time that we've got on the Inspiring Change seminar, you're really going to be talking about the steps necessary for us to take as a profession, for us to step in that too, because we talked the other day that there are some steps we need to take, but you said also that it doesn't have to be rocket science either, yes?
Absolutely, and it's not rocket science, and I think that's the key point, and that is with some simple upskilling on all of our behalves, then there are some really easy steps that we can use to, one, assess function better, and two, have our input and our role to play in that, hands-on in the practice, but also in what we communicate to the parents in our community and who we can work with in our community that have the best interest of the development of children at heart.
Great. Jen, I can't think of anybody better to be delivering this message, and I, for one, are very much looking forward to hearing you. So thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you in just over a couple of weeks' time.
Sounds great, Angus. Looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks. Again, this has been Dr. Angus Pike with Dr. Genevieve Keating, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time at our Inspiring Change seminar.